I thought it was your voice.
What in God's name have you done to your hair?
Cut it off. I'm sick of having it grabbed at. And this weight will be harder to hold on to.
I cannot believe that anything is worth going to these grotesque lengths for.
If anyone had told me I'd ever hear a statement like that coming from you, I'd have called him a liar. Shawcross of Peterloo. What was it they were asking for at Peterloo, Hamer? The vote, that's all. If you'd been there, would you have said, give in, boys, go home, the game's not worth the candle?
Rioting is undignified, and you might upset the Daily Mail.
Tie a red ribbon round it and keep it in a box. Strange. I suddenly feel like a holiday.
What a good idea. Where will you go?
London. Do you think you could find room for me?
My dear.
And be sure of one thing, Aunt Lizzie. From now on, I pay no more fines. Next time they can put me inside.
All right, jump to it. Why is your bed not folded down?
I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean.
Roll it. Pick it up. Your bed goes down like this. Right. Now, your pint and your plate.
Good evening, Mr. Shawcross.
Lady Lostwithiel.
So, since Swithins has sent you back to Westminster for another 5 years, may I congratulate you?
How very kind of you.
I thought I recognized you back there among the Impressionists, but I didn't know whether to speak or not.
I'm very glad you did. London always seems so empty on the first days of a new session. It's a great pleasure to see an old friend.
Do I come under that heading? You don't sound very sure.
No, I was merely wondering whether I was claiming too much. Previously, when we met, it's been on the hustings and on opposite sides, unfortunately.
Hustings, such a silly word. Sounds vaguely agricultural, don't you think?
Has your husband ever forgiven me for capturing a seat for Labour?
Oh, he found that quite easy since he was safely in the Lords. But then, of course, if he'd been standing, you wouldn't have got in at all. Clearly, you don't believe that.
Well, let's just say it's something we shall never know.
I should have remembered modesty was never one of your failings. I've been reading something about you recently. Oh, yes, of course. Is it Holloway they've sent your wife to?
Yes.
I couldn't do it myself. I haven't the courage. But I do so admire those women. Oh, really, Mr. Shawcross? I thought you were supposed to be a radical. I hope you're not going to pretend to be ashamed of her being there. That would be just too silly and pompous of you.
Hello, Emma.
Arnie. Arnie, why didn't you tell me you were in London?
Just a flying visit.
Well, how are you? What are you doing up here?
Just a moment, same as you, I imagine.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. It was Penn who led the demonstration, wasn't it?
Trafalgar Square, aye. She's in great demand, this Penn. Invited to speak all over country.
When she's not in jail.
30 days they give her this time.
Same as Anne. I wish to God I knew some way of stopping her.
You sound as if you're ashamed of her.
I can't pretend to like it, Arnie. I don't believe you do either.
Well, I couldn't exactly kick up about disgrace of it, now could I? I wouldn't have a leg to stand on. I've been inside myself, don't forget. Hey, I'm only pulling your leg. No, that's all water under bridge. All that's...
How are things down in South Wales?
Oh, we're making a bit of progress. We've got the 8-hour day. Ah, well, you know all about that. So, you spoke up for us in Commons.
Oh, yes, it was a struggle getting that through. From the first reading, it took over a year.
From when miners started asking, it took us 20 years. And even now, it includes winding time. Never mind. Wait till we get a Labour government. They'll see us right.
How's young Alice?
Well, I try not to talk about her very much. Because if I do, people think I'm showing off. She's brilliant, that kid. Won a scholarship to county school now. Came second on the list out of all areas. Very good. Yeah, I used to be impressed at you learning French, remember? I never thought then I'd see a daughter of mine learning Latin.
Welcome back, my dear. Lovely to see you. And flowers, too. I didn't know he had it in him.
They are lovely, aren't they?
I'm afraid you're right, Lizzie. They're from her lady friends.
Well, I dare say if you'd thought of it.
It's rubbish, Liz. Only a fool would pretend there's anything to celebrate. Before long, she'll go and do something else stupid and get herself put back inside again.
Anyway, she's here now. I hadn't expected you back quite so early. Did you take a cab?
No. Of all things, Lady Lostwithiel's car turned up. The chauffeur said she'd ordered it to be sent to Holloway.
Why on earth did she do that?
An act of kindness, I imagine. I happened to meet her at a private show. She has a lot of sympathy with the women's movement, though she doesn't make a parade of it.
Well, it was a nice thought anyway.
Now then, something to eat. You must be starving. What was the food like?
I'll tell you later, Aunt Lizzie. I don't think Hamer wants to hear all the harrowing details.
Not when the martyrdom is self-inflicted.
Mother will be wondering what's happening. I thought I'd go home to Bradford tomorrow. Do you mind?
You must do what you want.
Hamer. Please, darling. It's all right, isn't it, really, between us? There's only this one thing. Underneath that, everything's still the same.
How can it be the same when our minds are so far apart? I miss you, Anne. Knowing how I feel, I think if you cared enough for me, you wouldn't carry on like this. You've made your point. You've done your bit. Please, leave it to others now.
I could say if you cared enough for me, you'd help us. Only I don't say that. You must do what you think right. But so must I.
Time after time, successive governments have declared that, in principle, they are not against votes for women. That in time it would be granted. But yet always when the day came to redeem those promises, the women have been deceived and rejected. For the past 7 years, they have been subjected to ridicule and revilement in the press, abuse and rough handling in the streets, and have been treated in the courts like common criminals. How long do you expect them to put up with it? Can anyone honestly blame them if they have resorted to direct action? What alternative have they got?
You down there, Amy. And Pen, you keep watch and get ready to run.
I want to do something.
No, Pen. You've got to speak at 2 more meetings, Preston and Blackburn. No, we can't have you run in before the end of the week.
As far as this court is concerned, if people are brought before us who have been behaving like riffraff, then they will be treated like riffraff. It makes no difference who they are, or who their connections are, or how they try to justify these activities, which amount to nothing more nor less than hooliganism.
Shame!
Silence. We are not going to tolerate the destruction of property. The property of hard-working tradesmen by a pack of hysterical women, if that's what they want to call themselves. 2 months without the option of bail. Any damage to property?
No, Your Honor.
You are charged with riotous behaviour, using abusive language, and assaulting a police officer. How do you plead? Guilty or not guilty?
He assaulted me first. He had his hand over my mouth, so I bit him. And I never used any abusive language. That was Winston Churchill.
What do you mean, Winston Churchill?
Well, you should have heard him in the Free Trade Hall last Wednesday. If you're looking for people to lock up for using abusive language, why aren't he here? He called us hornets and harridans. I never use words like that.
Could the court hear the exact form of words alleged to have been used by this woman?
As a matter of fact...
Presumably you've got a record of it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, read it out.
When arrested, the defendant shouted repeatedly, "Votes for women."
Silence in this court.
When did she last eat?
Not a mouthful for 5 days.
I have to ask you, are you abstaining from food for some ulterior purpose? To put it plainly, are you hunger striking?
It's no use talking to her. She won't eat or speak.
Please understand you gain nothing by this. I advise you very strongly to change your mind. You could save yourself and everyone else a great deal of unpleasantness.
That for me? Well, now, how kind. How terribly kind. Just put it down there, love, will you? Oh. Oh. My favourite fruit, no. Well, give me compliments to the chef, won't you? Tell him I recommend this jail to all my friends. No, just a minute, love, will you?
Now then, for the last time, you know what's going to happen. You understand we can't have you dying on our hands. Are you still determined not to take nourishment of your own accord? Right then, hold her head. Now then, try to find the gap between her teeth.
I can't get it.
Well, try the pointed one.
Hold her head.
You're making it much worse for yourself. All right. That's it. Now, give a couple of turns, quick. Now we go to clean. Hold her quite still, please. Good. Oh, blast. All right. Once more. That's better. Right. Right. Lovely. Whoa.
Tonight, I'm ready for the lot of you. Go away!
Mr. Sound.
Yes, she's managed to block the door somehow.
Have a go.
Yes, sir.
Dear Aunt Lizzie, it seems as if you spend most of your life taking me in.
Yes, I know. That's the child.
I really must get back to Bradford soon. I don't like leaving Hamer's mother alone too long.
Yes, well, first things first.
Not too much.
Yes, no, I know. 2 ounces at a time the first day, no solids till the third day. I ought to know the routine by now. You are not the first hunger striker I have looked after. Now then.
still can't believe they let me go before I served my sentence. I never heard of that before. Must be some kind of victory, mustn't it?
Eat your soup.
Where's Hamer?
He'll be back soon, don't worry.
Back from where?
Well, he didn't want to disturb you.
Why? Where's he gone?
Bradford.
What?
He left early this morning.
He left London in the middle of a session?
Well, his mother's not very well.
Oh, no.
But the last thing she would want you to do now is to worry about her. And I know the good news is going to be a tonic. Charles. He's been accepted at Oxford.
Trinity. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, he wanted it so much and he's worked so hard. Oh,
and you'll never guess. You know Lloyd George's new house, the one he was building at Walton Heath?
Mm.
Emmeline Pankhurst blew it up.
Oh, she didn't.
Before he'd even moved in. Well, not all of it. But a couple of bombs went off.
I wonder if that's why the government's weakening.
Are they weakening?
They must be. Oh, Lizzie, I tell you, I hadn't served my sentence. They let me go. They gave in.
And I don't think they have let you go.
What do you mean? I'm here.
What did they say when they released you?
I was past listening.
Yes, well, it's a new law. The prisoner's temporary discharge for ill health. We call it the Cat and Mouse Act.
What?
Well, hunger strikers are released on license for 2 weeks or a month, but they're kept under surveillance. They start eating, build up their strength, and when they're well enough, they can be rearrested at any time to serve the rest of their sentence. Clever, isn't it? When your license time is up, they put detectives outside the house and just wait for you to come out.
Ben Ryson's got the word for them. Sorry, Aunt Lizzie, but it's the only one. Bastards.
She was asking this morning for somebody called Charles.
That's my son. Do you think I should send for him?
Oh, I wouldn't think that's necessary. Not just yet. She had a spell like that on Monday, but she got over it. Mrs. Shawcross.
Oh.
Somebody to see you. I'll just go and make a nice cup of tea.
Mother?
John. I want you to say, I'm glad you took that class for Gordon. He was proud of that.
Mother?
No.
How are you feeling today?
There's something else. Something, What's wrong with you and Anne?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
It's not natural. You in London, and Bradford.
It's the price we pay for my being a member of Parliament, Mother. But Anne's not alone. Every MP's wife is in the same position. There's nothing wrong. You mustn't worry about me.
Oh. Done nothing but worry about you all my born days. One night, I walked 15 miles for you and me arm. You were that heavy, I thought my arm would break.
Where?
gardens. To ask for relief. They said, you've come to the wrong parish. But I can't give you anything. Next day I had to walk all the way back. John.
Yes, Mother.
Put it right.
You mean about Anne?
Put it right.
I will. I promise.
You were always a good boy. Only sometimes a bit half-choked. Didn't understand.
I'm sorry.
No. Perhaps it was me. I never had the brains. I just wish we could have been a bit closer. That's all. Oh, well. I had Gordon.
Mother. Are you all right?
Yes, I'm going to have 40 winks. I'm very tired.